Hey folks, it's Duke back in the building, and you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna be playing Dusk Chateau, baby. No star upgrades, on veteran. I got my boy Boneheart on here, and we're gonna do this no lives lost. Now, there's two YouTube channels that I'm gonna immediately order you to subscribe to. First one is War Champion, because that's the one that I was just referencing. Poor guy has done so many challenges throughout the game. I feel like he might have felt like he wasn't getting that much recognition for his challenges, and so I don't really see him do commentary as much anymore on his, but when he did, it was really good Kingdom Rush commentary. I'll tell you what. The other one I'm going to recommend is the channel Nightbloom. Old friend of mine who recommended me to try this challenge, and I decided to go ahead and do it because he was adamant enough about it, which is what good friends do to you. So I went back to restore the files of the game because I've been playing modded Kingdom Rush for so long, and hey, this was a really fun challenge. I had to plan stuff out, like that move I just did right there with Boneheart, where I had to bring him down to spawn the Wishbone preemptively for the full moon to come and activate the zombies from there. I had to plan out that move too with the Disease Nova plus Rain of Fire. That combo was supposed to do just enough damage to actually kill those guys and trigger Unstable Disease. Things like that, you know, that you would also have to do in Chaos mode, require a lot of planning and stuff. So if you're in the mood for it, crafting those kinds of expert micro things in order to optimize your playthrough can be really fun. I find it really fun when I can just do it on my own time. I've realized that streaming ultra hard challenges and like working them out and stuff is not always the best for actually figuring things out. I can figure things out a lot faster when I'm left on my own to think. So in this case here, I had all this stuff figured out. I specifically wanted to keep Boneheart busy because I didn't want him to spawn Wishbone and block the abominations when I could be getting extra money from Pickpocket through the assassins. Oops, I think I might have said the wrong word right there, but it is late at night. I just wanted to add the commentary to this video once I completed the challenge. So I will go to sleep immediately after this and hopefully reset my mental state. Now, the other stuff that you have to do here is also very tricky. You need to use Boneheart's abilities in some way in order to kill the bats. This here looks like an L, but believe it or not, those zombies pop just in time to kill those bats. Well, I shouldn't say not believe it, because you can literally see it right here on the screen. And luckily, because Disease Nova is Unstable Disease is a nice balanced ability, it deals a whopping 90 true damage. So it will kill those bats when you have two of them, because it's now 180 true damage. Otherwise, the bats would still live because he's on veteran. And you'll see me click on some of the other enemy health bars to verify that. At least at the end, you'll see me click on Vassile's health bar, and then you'll see that he has his veteran health. Now let me just heal up Lucrezia over there, and I'm gonna bring Boneheart back once again to try to farm some money off the abominations using the Assassin Pickpocket. Now you can tell that I haven't like practiced this day and night to try to master this challenge. I didn't really do that many attempts on it. I'm glad that I didn't waste that much time on it, to be honest. But here I'm not very decisive about what I want to do. All I know is that I want to save a little bit of gold in order to upgrade the barracks, because the ghouls that are going to spawn from the right side are going to be quite a problem. In fact, I would actually argue that Wave 4 is the hardest part of Dusk Chateau most of the time. Like, no matter what the challenge is, if you're trying to do all waves called instantly, this is the wave where things usually crumble apart, if they haven't already. I actually would say that the early game of Kingdom Rush stages is the hardest part pretty much all of the time. I can't think of a stage where Wave 15 is the hardest part of it, because you eventually get enough gold that you're just good to go on everything. And this part is very tight. You need to specifically kill enough of those werewolves that you can handle blocking the remaining enemies. so you have to do all the AoE stuff a little early. And as you can tell, that was right in the nick of time, because now I'm able to block all these ghouls over here and then catch up with the enemy wave. I started out fighting that guy that was underneath the mage, and now we were able to move up and block all these guys over here. And I'm getting some good pickpocket procs off of the Lycan. He gives a lot of gold, so since you can only steal at max 30% of an enemy's bounty, so you can at max get 130% bounty from an enemy, it's good to get a lot of procs on those tanky guys that have a lot of gold to give. And there I use the reinforcements specifically to group those Vampiressa together just a little bit more to get a good AoE on Lucrezia. Now I haven't counted here, and I don't know who can count in the middle of playing a hard challenge, but I'm curious to know if the pickpocket that I bought here actually pays itself off by the end of the level, because I'm going out of my way to micro these assassins against the zombies here, and I cannot tell if they still make enough gold even after all that. First of all, it takes a while to break even. On average, for them to break even, it takes several minutes. So you're just out of gold for a little bit and slowly recuperating it. I mean, you'll gain the gold that you lost back faster. As long as they're in melee combat, the rate at which you gain gold is going to be a little bit faster. So that's kind of nice. But even then, those skills are quite tricky to analyze due to the nature of your money fluctuating a bit more than it otherwise would. So it's at this point that I now need to micro Boneheart again. I really wanted to get him to spawn his plague carriers so that we would go over all the bats and then also hit the ghosts, but he didn't wanna. So now I'm gonna move him over here, and of course he's gonna have all of his other skills come out first and then finally use plague carriers, but it works out. He did a lot of damage to that Phantom Warrior, and that Phantom Warrior is about to deal a lot of damage to assassins, who for some reason they take damage from the cold aura, but they don't take damage from Zizzy slamming his hammers on the floor, or the AoE of other giant enemies hitting a unit that's really close to where they're standing. They turn invincible as well as invisible, except against the Phantom Warrior. They also can pickpocket the Phantom Warrior. So even though it makes more sense for AoE to hit them while they're invisible, it only applies to the Phantom Warrior, which is nonsensical. And then they can pickpocket the Phantom Warrior, which is also nonsensical. So Frontier's L counter when? Probably never. I don't think I want to go through something like that for these games, because at this point the games are so I'm so used to these games that their L's are almost like white noise to me. I'm numb to them practically, because I just learned to look past the stuff in a game that I know is a problem. Eventually it just stops bothering me. I'm gonna let Lucrezia finish that guy off, and then she can stand there and block the next abomination, which is good because then those other barracks have time to stay alive and block. Except they can't block that guy because he's in the bottom sub lane, and in fact 3 of those guys are in the bottom sub lane, so they give me more work to do. Now I need to bring everyone back and try and kill this abomination. Luckily the Totem of Weakness here helps separate the amount of damage enemies are taking. So the guys that are in the front there are going to die really quickly because they're taking more damage, and so it's less work for me to micro my units because I'm not having everything exploding like all at the same time basically. Because otherwise I need to keep the units on the move for longer, which is a bit more annoying. Here they're separated, and then I can let the assassins die. That's also a bit of leeway that I get. And I can still block the other abominations from moving forward. So luckily that all worked out. We clutched up, and now we can do wave 8, which is considered another hard wave of this challenge. To me, the main hard parts that are remaining are just the wave 15 Lycan Rush. Probably one of the most memorable waves in all of Kingdom Rush. I love that the full moon happens, there's nothing spawning, so it builds up some anticipation, and then you hear the Lycans howling, so you know what's coming, and then they just keep coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. So that's a really fun moment in this level. Except when you're doing a challenge, and then it's scary and spooky. It's getting me in the Halloween spirit too, which is good, because Halloween is probably my favorite holiday. It's about equal with Christmas though. The other scary part is the boss wave itself. Not not the first phase, but the second phase, because you can't block him. Even with no star upgrades, you can, I believe, permastall Vassile and out DPS his healing, thanks to the Crossbow 4 Barrage and Totem Weakness, making it do even more damage. Plus, I'm going to have even more tower firepower. Like, I just got another archer here to make sure that I can handle all the bats. Every bat ever. But the second phase, when you can't stall him at all, and you're just going to go through uncontested, without star upgrades to make your towers deal even more damage per tower spot, it's actually quite difficult to make sure that he dies before he gets to the exit. And you're going to see it gets pretty close. It might not look that close, but he would have leaked if he didn't die to that last hit that he receives. Spoilers, I complete this challenge. This is why I am uploading it. I hope that's not that big of a deal to anybody. And this is the last wave where I get to have fun with Boneheart's play carriers, because it's the last time that we have this many zombies coming out. So I'll enjoy it while it lasts. Very juicy. Out of all of the flying heroes, Boneheart has my favorite playstyle. Phoenix is a good contender as well. Very fun. Merglin too is pretty fun as well. Maybe Dinyan after that. But I would say he's probably a bit of a ways off in terms of just fun factor. That's all I'm comparing here. Because the micro for him is not really that rewarding, in my opinion. What makes it rewarding is stuff like the Plague Carrier's explosions. Seeing stuff like that is epic. Seeing multiple giants insta-killed by Merglin's hero spell, epic. Seeing Merglin dealing damage with her basic attack, the lava on the ground, the lava blood, and buffing as many towers as you can fit her in by getting her in like an optimal position, super satisfying. I love combining all of those different forms of optimization into one to get the hero to be as damage efficient as possible. Super satisfying stuff. Dinyan, not so much. He definitely has a much bigger playstyle than you might initially give him credit for, especially because his attack is so hands-free that he's just doing it. But it's the other abilities that you can micro, and then you can pull off some pretty fancy challenges. There's stuff that you can do with every hero to be fancy and micro them to perfection. You can also micro assassins to perfection. Like right there, I should have let that assassin continue fighting the original Phantom Warrior he was fighting. Moving him to fight the other guy meant that he didn't even get a chance to attack, because he just got killed by the Cold Aura. Granted, he was at least killed at a different time, so he respawned at a different time, but it didn't even matter because the Phantom Warrior dies. So who knows if I would have gotten maybe one more proc of Pickpocket. I could have gotten one more gold. I could have gotten 3 more gold at max from that enemy. Now we'll never know. This challenge is forever less efficient than it otherwise could be due to this epic failure. Likewise, there's some other epic failures here with the Steam moments. There are a lot of times when Boneheart's going to use skills from angles that are really bad, or just early because of the activation AoE of some of his skills. Like the Disease Nova, it activates kind of early, it feels like. Like the enemies don't need to be that close to him for him to count. It's like, oh, that's 3 enemies, guess I'm diving. I also don't know why people consider it, like Boneheart does a sacrifice of himself. That's not the case at all, because he just reforms instantly rather than dying. He has a 30-second respawn time. If he was actually dying, you would notice. And people would hate him probably for that. Like, it would be a skill better left unupgraded for that reason. He's not Phoenix. Oh, I didn't really talk about Phoenix's playstyle being satisfying, but come on. I think that speaks for itself, right? You purposefully get the hero damaged, so that way you can trigger the dive bomb as much as possible. That's a great concept for a hero. I just wish it wasn't on a flying hero where it's really difficult to get them to take damage. On the old version of iOS, the Coco's version, AoE from enemies would actually damage Phoenix, even if they were hitting ground enemies. So you could get Phoenix to take more damage by putting her above, like a Shadow Champion, for example, and letting it attack. There was also a difference in Coco's that I think was a lot more balanced than how it works here. So going back to War Champion stuff, he has the Chateau, where you have a hero in melee combat with any unit, any enemy, and you move the hero out of melee combat while the enemy is doing its attack animation, because it triggers a steam moment, so it's still busy doing its animation instead of walking forward. And then you move the hero back into melee combat, and the enemy doesn't get a chance to move forward at all, and the hero doesn't take any damage at all, because you're dodging all of the attacks. You need to be directly engaged with the enemy in order for you to take damage from it. So, doing that, the Chateau as he calls it, you just dance around the enemy. You can permanently stall any one enemy with any unit. You can do it with barracks, you can do it with heroes. Can't do it with reinforcements, at least not in this game, because they can't be moved like that. But basically anything that you can move, you can do this in. In the old Coco's version of the game, the enemy used to save up its attack. It's the same way as how hero healing works as well, where if a hero heals every 1 second that they're idle, and you move them after 0.9 seconds of being idle, then once they've moved to their destination and go idle again, it only takes 0.1 seconds of them being idle for them to get healing. It will reset if they get hit by something else, or go into melee combat. If they stop being idle, basically. I don't even know if the getting hit part applies, actually. I have to double check that, but I do know that it resets if they go into melee combat again. But it stores up their progress towards healing if you interrupt them. The same was true for enemy attacks. Let's say an enemy takes like 1 second to perform its attack in total, like its animation, and the damage part of the animation came in at like 0.7 seconds. If you moved your hero away 0.6 seconds into the animation, it would save up the remaining 0.4, so then it would very quickly do its attack animation and stop the animation 0.4 seconds into the animation and deal the attack. Actually, if I recall correctly, the unit usually dealt its damage at the exact end of the animation. It still does. So something like that wouldn't happen, but let's say it just takes 1 second to attack, and you move to them 0.9 seconds in to the attack animation, then the next time that enemy unit was in melee combat or something, it would do the attack again in 0.1 seconds. So it was kind of jank. The animation didn't look right, which is why they patched that out probably. Or they probably didn't even actively patch it out. I bet it just didn't happen that way because Sugamo, when he was reprogramming the games to work for Steam, just didn't do that by default because he knew it was jank. Still though, it prevented you from cheesing the enemy because they would always deal their attack at the same rate. It just depends on when you let them deal the damage. And it didn't have to be against the same unit either, so you could block a Twilight Golem with Eridan, move him out of there, and then when he went to go engage with reinforcements, the Twilight Golem would attack them really, really fast, the first hit. It wouldn't keep on doing that hit, it's just for the next hit. But still, he would kill the reinforcements extra fast because he dealt his first hit against them really quickly due to storing it up against Eridan, or whatever units you want to use for the example. It could be vice versa as well. We just spawn those reinforcements at the top right so they can get instantly killed by all of the cold auras. And now I'm going to wait for those ghosts to die so that Boneheart can use his abilities on all of them. There we go. And now I'm going to micro the assassins to get some gold from these Phantom Warriors. They can also insta-kill Phantom Warriors, by the way. That was kind of an ugly looking attack, but I did hit most of those guys with the AoE nonetheless, so I'm happy with that. And I got the good play carriers angle too, where as it's coming down to reach the path, it's still damaging the enemies because the hitbox is still active. And look at that. I killed Phantom Warriors with 2 2 level 2 mages and 1 level 3 mage, thanks to Boneheart Micro, just to flex, you know. I didn't need to buy the sneak attack right away. I could have just bought Archmages first. Then again, it's a bit better that I buy all this stuff now so I don't forget. It would be kind of unfortunate to get that far in the challenge and then mess up something trivial like that just because you're getting too comfy with everything that you're doing, or just because it's something so easy to forget, you know. You don't want it to happen. So here we go. Lycans are gonna show up before we even finish killing all of the ghosts. Now the Lycans, if I didn't have Assassins of Sneak Attack, would actually break through over there. The 3 Assassins there cannot handle 3 Lycans on their own. And in fact, I'm still gonna need to support them with extra firepower in a little bit. But for now, I'm just gonna try to throw all my firepower at the Lycans. We're gonna slam. Come on and jam. We need all the skeletons we can get. I'm not getting Death Rider though, because buffing the skeletons is gonna allow them to tank 1, maybe 2 more attacks from the Lycans, which is just not worth it. And then while all these enemies are dying, I can micro these units up here, and for some reason you can damage Vassile during his opening cutscene here. I know that this was never possible back in the old Cocos days. I have video proof of that. Just look up any of my Dusk Chateau runs from like a few years ago. It was played on the iPad, and you can see me having an Archmage clearly with Vassile in range and not hitting him at all. In fact, they would aim at the Vampiressa, who were vulnerable during this cutscene, and not him, even if they were behind him, because he was specifically made to be invincible. Now here I could just stall him out for even longer with the Battle Mecha Waste Disposal, but it's really not necessary. Like I said, it was tight, but it's not that tight. So I can just stall him a little bit with the reinforcements, try to get some extra gold from the Vampiressa. You know, same strategy that you would do with Phase 1 Umbra. Just let him keep on taking some chip damage, I guess, because once we get to the main choke point, he's done for. Like, we out DPS him with 2 barrages, plus the Battle Mecha, all multiplied by 1.4, thanks to the Twin of Weakness. Right there, actually, you can see that the Twin of Weakness is not active 100% of the time. It was back in the old Cocos days, but they kind of nerfed it a little bit, so now it just has 90% uptime. So, in a way, you could say that it's not actually multiplying the damage by 1.4. You can just multiply that by 0.9, and then say it's doing 1.26 times damage, I think, or 1.386. Now I need to micro this mecha. Gotta micro the mecha, because the Waste Disposal to slow him down buys me just that many more attacks against the boss. In hindsight, it would have been wiser for me to actually get the Archmage at the top instead, because as you can see here, I get 1 critical mass out of that. So having the extra gold like earned later on to buy critical mass once it finally gets in range of shooting him doesn't really help that much compared to if it was in range of the mecha. So I could have won even harder, but whatever. He was just barely getting out of range of that Archmage, so if he didn't die to that attack, I would have actually lost. So, hey, I did it though. I didn't lose. Yay!